The Mementos of Rùnjh by Nivedita Ramendu Shukla. There are some palaces where you go, admire their beauty, take pictures and come back with memories which may or may not stay with you. When someone talks about them, you happen to remind yourself of the moments you spent there and talk about it briefly. And then there are old palaces. The moment you first lay your eyes on the structure from a distance while entering its premises, you ready yourself to plunge into the history and grandeur of it. The fact that the old kings and queens lived a life of luxury far away from imagination makes you feel so ordinary. You amuse yourself as you think about why the people needed separate areas for everyday routine. Why would they walk such distances to take a bath, have tea, see a dance performance, or even cry? Those old and freshly painted walls housed people who made history. Their stories took their first and last breath within them and hid many which no one will ever know about. The way those palaces are kept and maintained lets you take a little peek in their lives, fuel your imagination, and confirm what you already know. And when you come back from a palace, you just don't come back with memories which you may or may not remember. You come back with intrigue, fascination, and time travel. There was one such palace I visited many years ago. Well, this palace was a little different from the other very ancient ones. The moment I stepped in this one, it crowded my mind with more questions than answers. The staff of the palace allowed entries to limited spaces, and the guide gave information which was easily available online. But this palace was alive, unlike the other with dead stone walls and long open spaces. The things kept in the room were not very old. I had seen my grandfather use them. My grandmother had kept a few as heirlooms. When I walked through their courtyards and passed by the rooms, I could clearly imagine the lives of the people living there. I could see the downfall in the damaged corners of the furniture, the missing chunks of the pillar, and the discolored elegant curtains. The fact that the heir of the palace had to put their palace up for the public to see after paying a ticket was itself a very sad story. I was coming back feeling like I lived an era. But it was the auto driver who took us from the palace back to the city. And he told us a part of the story which neither the guide tells you nor the online platforms. Well, the story lasted as long as our journey, but I could not help but think about writing a story about the lives of the people living there. This book is a fiction. There could or could not be any truth in it. Chapter 1. Rùnjh. Have you ever been to a museum, especially the one that houses the personal belongings of kings and queens? Some clothes, jewelry, heavy weapons, exquisite gold and silver dishes, some tapestries and ornate spittoons. When you casually pass by those glass vitrines, don't you feel like you're passing through a century? Mere objects that you cross so indifferently existed while they lived once upon a time. The weapons that hang quietly by the nails on the wall must have clung gracefully around the robust waists. Perhaps wrote countless death sentences with the tip of the sword. These uncanny and breathtaking attires seem drab now, but they were the regalia of those kings and queens once. The finest embroiderers working the magic of their nimble fingers over these elaborate fabrics with threads of gold and silver, only for them. The embellishments spread out ornately in the glass crates were once unparalleled. I wonder if some exceptional goldsmith from a far-off land brought his special artistry to the queen, hoping to become a royal jeweler. Only some from the many must have earned their place in the heart. I wonder if some exceptional goldsmith from a far-off land brought his special artistry to the queen, hoping to become a royal jeweler. Only some from the many must have earned their place in their hearts and were designated as the family jewel. Look at those plates and pots. They must have eaten from them. Those tapestries, which are most captivating aisle of the museum, must have taken years to complete. The kings and queens must have preened like peacocks, showing off their masterpieces. Everything they owned must have been essentially beautiful, unique, and precious. Or maybe all these things never mattered. Maybe they were just a bunch of useless things, and that's why they are here. Do you take a moment and let this astonish you? Or do you nonchalantly walk by? Don't you fabricate stories around these items? Do items make a story? Or is it people which turn these items into mementos? There is one such museum, far away in a little town with a few hundred people. There once lived kings and queens. The museum is rather ordinary, without any major artifacts. The gleam of dresses, one bangle, a gun with a lion carved on its grip, some pictures hanging there, family pictures, even some that reflect their hobbies, and a tiger stuffed with straw. Nothing much to see, but for the people who live there, it is enough. There is hardly anything to see or visit in the quaint town. People who live there recite tales of their royalties, some legitimate and probably some mythical. If you ever happen to visit the borough, do stop by the palace and the museum. Well, there is this room in the museum, inaccessible. If you could pursue the caretaker of the museum, then get the secluded room open for you. If you are lion-hearted, ignore his warnings and dare to step into the room. This is the excerpt from the book Mementos of Rùnjh, available on Kindle, Amazon, and Google Books. Subscribe for more.